Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another video. Now you see the screen right now is filled with tiny little dots, and these dots come to us by way of a sheet of screen tone, which I bought during a recent trip to Japan with my family. Now, many of you may understand that when you buy a manga, especially an older one, and you see these gray tones in the background, they were all applied painstakingly to the page by way of these screen tones. Not so widely available in America anymore, and I do wonder if manga artists are still using this technique in Japan today, but certainly in the old days this is how it was done. Now, many of you may sort of understand the basic concept of how it's applied to the page, but I wonder how many of you have actually seen it done. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Alright, well, in order to show you the screen tone process, I need something to apply the screen tone to. So what I'm going to do is do a drawing based very closely on a video that I did some years ago called How to Draw an Innocent-Looking Manga Girl. That way, if someone wants to follow along, you can go back, watch that video, and begin with the same basic illustration that I've got here. So let's go ahead, all in time-lapse, and get this drawing done. All right, well, I've got the basic pencils in place. Now, one thing that's going to be different from the earlier video, those of you who saw the, how to draw an innocent-looking manga girl, you may remember that I used my trusty black Prismacolor to do sort of the darker line work. Now, this time, because we're going to be doing Zip-A-Tone, instead of using that, I'm going to use ink. Mainly because that would be the traditional tool that people would use, for making a real published manga. So again, sorry, in time-lapse, but let's go ahead and ink this drawing up, and then finally we can get onto the good stuff, the application of the screen tones. Okay, so I've let the ink dry, and I'm erasing using my kneaded eraser to get rid of all the original pencil lines. And now we are ready for the big part of the show, that is applying screen tones. Now, I think the first thing I'm going to do is begin with a simple, light shaded gray tone here. And I'm going to apply this to the sort of border area of her dress and maybe also to the eyes. Let me go ahead and prepare that, and we're going to do at least the first part of it all in real time so you can really get a good sense of the technique. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin by peeling away. There's sort of a base layer here, and then you have the screen tone. Don't know if you can see how this is coming off, and this has a light adhesive on the other side that's going to allow me to apply this. Let's begin by applying it to the eyes. And what I'm going to do just to, this is the way I used to do it years ago, is to sort of clip off little bits of it. I guess I'll go ahead and use a pair of scissors here. So as to make it a little less unwieldy. So I'm just sort of clipping off a little piece of it here. And that way I can apply it pretty much directly to the eyes. Okay. Now I'm going to take out my trusty, I don't know if I can call this trusty because I've almost never used it before in a video, this X-Acto blade. And what I do is, after making sure that the area where I want it to stay is on there pretty firmly, I begin to cut away with the, let me try to zoom in actually. This will be better if you can see it close up. All right, so I'm going in with the X-Acto blade and I'm cutting along in the area where I intend to remove the excess screen tone. I'm very tempted to call it Zip-A-Tone, which I think is a brand name. And that's the way a lot of American, sort of like Band-Aid for adhesive bandages, people started to call it Zip-A-Tone, but I probably should just stick with screen tone. And you see me sort of trying to carefully cut along the edge, and these eyes have highlights in them. Maybe I can sort of remove part of it to begin with. It's been quite a long time actually since I did screen tones. And let's see if I manage to pull it off. I don't know if I cut it carefully enough. Let me cut in here a little more. Make sure that it's really on there. I'll tell you, it really is a painstaking process. And I did at least one comic, my first published comic, Akiko on the Planet Smoo, using all screen tones like this. And it does take, oh, there we go. Now it's staying in place. We remove, see, that's what's giving me trouble. There we go. And voila, that is what it really looks like. Now, I know they had tools. I didn't bother to buy any this time for sort of burnishing or getting it to really adhere once you've finished. I'm just using the other end of the X-Acto blade. But you kind of get the idea of the technique. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this second eye in time-lapse so you don't have to fall asleep. But then maybe I'll do one or two other ones in real time just to give you the technique one more time. All right, so there you have the eyes, and this just gives you some sense of really how time-consuming and laborious the process of adding screen tones used to be. I mean, that's just for the eyes. Now we have to do the whole rest of the image, and you start to multiply that by hundreds and hundreds of panels, and you can begin to get an idea of how hard-working these manga creators and their assistants really were and continue to be, even if they're doing it by way of the computer. But let's go ahead and refocus so that I can apply a different type of gray tone, and we can begin to bring this together into a finished image. Okay, so I just got finished applying to the border of her dress and the ribbon. For me, the fun part was always that sort of reveal as you pulled off the stuff that you had trimmed away, and ta-da, you had that nice professional-looking application of gray tones. Now, I should say, I am no expert on applying gray tones. I'm completely self-taught in this regard, and you may even see in the comment section from people who know better than I, you're doing it wrong! You know, that's not the way you should have done it. It's so much more effective if you do it this other way. And to which I say, yes, you're probably absolutely right. I don't exactly know what I'm doing, but I thought, why not show the technique as I, came to understand it. Now, I want to go ahead and apply in time-lapse a darker shade here on the dress, just so you can see the two different shades next to each other and see the effect that is achieved. All right, so, before going into time-lapse, I thought I would point something out here about if you put one type of screen tone on top of another one, you get this sort of unpleasant effect called the moire. I hope I'm saying that right. Is it a French word? Moire. The moire effect that is caused when you get this weird pattern that erupts when you put two on top of each other. So normally you really can't do that, and that's why I'm going to be going right along this line and hopefully getting a nice clean separation between the lower, darker area and this lighter border area. But let's go ahead and do that in time-lapse. Okay, well now we're going to do one that's going to be kind of fun for me because I have never used this particular pattern before, or really anything that looks much like it. It seems to me intended for shoujo comics. You get these sort of glowing, what are they, bubbles? Orbs? A pattern that you often see in the background. And so I'm going to use this for, indeed, the background of this illustration. Again, all in time-lapse, but it should be fun when I pull it away to reveal what it looks like once I've added this pattern. Okay, well, let's see if we can do the big reveal here, where we take away the excess, and looks like it's going to work. Cross your fingers. Ta-da! There we go. We finally got that background in there. And yes, you can see you really do get a nice professional look there. Imagine, I mean, this is painstaking enough, but imagine if you tried to create that pattern by yourself by hand. Oh my goodness, that's going to take you a very long time. Well, hopefully I've saved the best for last. I want to apply a certain type of tone to the hair here, and I think this effect should hopefully be pretty cool. Let me go ahead and grab that sheet of Zip-A-Tone. Okay, so here we have one of my favorite types of tone to apply. It's a gradient tone that goes from dark to light. And my idea is to have her hair be fairly light at the top and then get darker and darker as it goes down. So this is one of these things where it's a little bit key to get the the tone placed properly before you start cutting away. But let's go ahead and I guess I'll do this top part first. I'll do it in two separate bits, and then we can see if the effect is working the way I want it to. Okay, let's see if we can do the big reveal here and see if we're getting the effect that I wanted to. Oh, so far so good. So far so good. And there we are. Yeah, see how that works? Now making the darker area at the bottom, we get a little of an effect of shade going on there, or a certain three-dimensional type of an effect on the hair. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this off. Of course, I got a little strand here that needs to be done, probably with the gradation going in the opposite direction, or at least in a different place. And then we'll pretty much be done with this illustration. All right, our final reveal, pulling away the excess screen tone and hopefully revealing a nice little effect there. Tried something a little different by reversing the direction. We get, a flow of light to dark in the middle and then light again at the far end. And so, yeah, that, if nothing else, gives you some appreciation for the level of work that went into most of the manga that you see, certainly from the early years all the way up through, I would say, the year 2000 or so. And for all I know, some people are still doing it this way today. It is an incredibly time-consuming process. I haven't used it for years, quite frankly. This was like a blast from the past for me to make use of screen tone this way. And I must say, having done it, I don't miss it that much, people. It's very tedious, time-consuming, sometimes quite frustrating. But the final effect does have a real beauty to it, and it's sort of interesting to think that even with computers now, we are trying to emulate very often this effect that was all done by hand. Well, let me go ahead and wrap this up. I had to stop myself because I realized I'm not done with this illustration. I have not added the blushies. It was kind of funny when I looked back on that earlier video, I realized there were no blushies in that video. That was back before the days of the obligatory blushies, and I think we can all agree this illustration benefits from having them. But now I can finally thank anyone who has supported me by getting my books. We've got Miki Falls, we've got Brody's Ghost, and we've got Mastering Manga. As I said, Mastering Manga Part 2 coming up in just a couple of months. But let's go ahead and lay down the pen. I really want to thank you for watching this video, for subscribing, for leaving comments, for all the stuff you do on my behalf. But let's wind it up. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.